All right, everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined, as always, by Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how are you doing tonight?
Doing fine, Ben. Another Motor Monday to take part of, and still have not really put anything in this cup much this year so far. But the virtual 12 hours of Sebring was this past Saturday, and my group of three, me and two others, we won our split. So I can finally say I've won the 12 hours of Sebring. That was my first time ever in that event, and I just want to go ahead and get that out of the way. That was a fantastic day, and we went down 8 laps in the first 40 minutes because we got dumped into the pit entry, but clawed our way all the way back. It was the last session in like the 13th split of 15 different splits in the world. So we won.
That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations. And I think you deserve to put something in that mug this weekend. I just cracked open a can of Baja Blast myself.
Naturally.
So yes, of course. I do have this. This is not empty. I just opened it before we came on the air here. So, but I think I got the Baja Blast rain out of the way last night with the Ferrari double disqualification. So that's we'll try to keep it a little more subdued here tonight. Obviously, I'm on my 4th show in 4 days. I've had a long weekend, and it's pretty straightforward. It would have been even more straightforward if the Xfinity race had ended in regulation. Joe was also on vacation this weekend, so or on a business trip or something. He's not available. I know that, as I've been filling in for him for the last couple of weeks. So we don't have results graphics tonight either. But we're going to do the best we can with what we got. Straightforward show tonight. One correction I want to make in regards to last night's wrap-up show. I know Emily Sharp just got the disqualification news a little bit later than we all did, and when she was on the air last night in her one shining moment, I think she had mentioned that she was under the impression that the entire weekend had been wiped away for Ferrari, and that I think she had mentioned in passing Oscar Piastri inheriting the sprint win. Of course, Lewis Hamilton still keeps his win from the sprint, so Ferrari can take a few points from that at least to come out of their weekend with. But the main event, the feature race, obviously, they lose all their points for their double disqualification. So hopefully no harm, no foul there, but we did want to just correct the record before we got into the show here tonight. And as always, another thing we want to do, thank our Patreon investors, Colin Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for your continued support of what we do here at the Grid Network. And if you like what you see this evening, if you've liked what you've seen all weekend, you can consider joining them through the link in the description box below, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution to us instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link, also there in the video description. Or if you're watching us live on YouTube, we now have Super Chat and Super Thanks features enabled as well. Now, Brandon, we're going to get into the Homestead-Miami race weekend recap here in just a bit, but we'll start with a brief open segment here. I don't think there's too much to react to. We thought maybe this was going to be an earth-shattering announcement with the way Kyle Busch was teasing it. I think some of your friends were maybe considering maybe he's going to do a double alongside another Kyle Larson. Like, it was that kind of scale of a tease for that kind of scale of an announcement. But we did get the news at 18:51 military time, fittingly enough, of course, 6:51 p.m. Eastern time. So a little more than 10 minutes ago, Kyle's just going to be racing against his son Brexton in a couple of days. That was a cool moment for them, but I think for how much they were hyping that up, maybe a little bit underwhelming of an announcement in reality.
Well, let's see. I mean, we can't just say it's just Kyle racing with Brexton. I mean, this is a big deal for the track champion of Millbridge Speedway, Brexton Busch,
sure,
racing the rookie, Kyle Busch, which is fun to say. And I'm glad they're getting to share this. But come on now, 988,000 views, 5,000 likes, 752 retweets, 532 comments on this news we got 23 hours ago that said just simply news at 18:51 on Monday, period. And nothing else added to that. If it was a retirement message, we probably all would have had a heart attack. If it was something like I'm going to do the double or something, I mean, I thought if it's the double, at least it's going to be next year, because there's no way it would happen. And when we see Kyle Larson release something like that, it's the year previous, and you get a whole year to prepare. But no, this is nice for Kyle and Brexton to be on the track together. And Brexton, he's climbing up the ranks, man. We're going to be hearing his name a lot, I know.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that on the wrap-up show last night. It's probably only a few years before Brexton gets in a truck, and Kyle's talked about that in the past, maybe splitting a season with him running the big tracks when he's 16, 17, and then Brexton goes full-time at 18, and Kyle will step away then. Obviously still a few years down the road, but I don't know. That was what I was thinking potentially, with those numbers. Maybe it would be bringing back Kyle Busch Motorsports, in some sort of deal there. Obviously, it's only been a couple of years since they closed down or didn't close, but sold their truck program to Spire. Of course, that's who Kyle has been running those truck starts with the last couple of seasons now.
And they're just as good.
They are. Yeah. And Kyle's proven that with
recent winner.
Gotten back to victory lane. Yeah. It's just a shame for us because it's not much to talk about. The guy, every time he gets in a truck or Xfinity, is liable to park it in victory lane. And sometimes there's a story that comes out of it. Other times it's just chalk up another win for the record holder in both of those series. And honestly, that's kind of where we're at tonight here. We had, again, the other Kyle Larson, attempting to do something that only Kyle Busch has done, and Kyle's done this twice, Busch that is, in 2010 and in 2017 at Bristol, running all three races, trucks nationwide at the time, I guess, or Xfinity in 2017, I guess it would have been the sponsor at that point. And the Cup Series, winning all three races. And if you had told me Kyle Larson would have taken 2 out of 3, I would have guessed you were talking Xfinity and trucks. Of course, not to say Kyle Larson isn't capable of winning Cup races, but that's the one where he has the highest level of competition for sure. Kyle got the job done in the Truck Series. Probably should have gotten the job done in Xfinity, but we had the chaos of another overtime restart that didn't work out in his favor, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But he did have to work for the truck victory in some aspects as well. He spun out at one point during the race, ended up recovering from that and still taking the win. But you could argue maybe if he should have had the Xfinity race, maybe Corey Heim should have had this truck race. I know he was having those issues with the truck shutting off in the closing stages. But Brandon, what's your reaction to seeing Kyle Larson perform so well at what's arguably his best track with how he's able to run the high line? And Corey Heim, again, it's been a constant talking point on this show as well. But I personally think he should be racing on Sunday sooner rather than later. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he's, in that development program with Legacy Motor Club, as we found out just in the recent past. So might be in that sort of ladder for Cup. We'll have to see. But definitely Toyota for Corey Heim. That's kind of been where he's been hanging out, unless there's a big change someday in the future, and you really never can tell. But just a weekend to see dominance, and just a weekend to appreciate the greatness that Kyle Larson is as a talent. And let it be known that on one of these X polls, someone, I forgot who it was, but someone asked, do you think Kyle Larson will sweep the weekend? There was not many. It was, well, I don't think there was many at the time whenever I put in my yes, because I thought he was going to somehow, some way. But I don't think it was quite. I think the no's maybe outweighed the yeses. But yeah, it only came down to one overtime restart, which we'll get to here later. But he nearly did, and the truck race was just a chance to witness. This is my track. I own this place. Doesn't matter what kind of car it is or truck. I can get in and rip the fence and take home the win. So I'm not in the. You won't find me in the camp of, oh man, Larson again. I mean. It's me like, all right, come on, let's go. Let's see you take care of it. So yeah, I'm with you. It didn't occur in the series that I expected it to. I thought it would probably be a truck Xfinity domination, and then get to Cup, and then it'd be someone like Byron or someone stepping up. But no, we got the flip flop. We got the Friday and Sunday of Kyle Larson taking care of business, and again, we almost got Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to be consistent on this show, and people always say, oh, they only hate it when Kyle Busch does it, right? And so I try to say, well, hold on a second. I think anytime a Cup driver gets into a truck or an Xfinity car, I would much rather see that go to a young, talented prospect who might not have a ride otherwise, or to somebody, who maybe got a cup opportunity in the past, but is trying to reinvent themselves from a lower series. There are plenty of drivers like that out there as well, but I'm sure would love an opportunity to do a handful of races on a Spire truck. But, I also understand the business side of it. And, he had the same identical, HendrickCars.com, my goodness, the Spire spotters had to have been, in a little bit of trouble on Friday night there.
The only thing to help them was the different colors on the roof numbers.
Yeah,
That's your only solace.
Yeah, I think that was a good move on their part to give them a little bit of a differential there. But it's going to be interesting to see, because we heard on the broadcast yesterday that he's going to try again at Bristol, and he is no slouch there. But 2 of the last 4 Bristol night races in the Cup Series, Kyle Larson has won, and the other 2 in 22 and 23, he finished in the top 5 in each of those as well. So, everybody obviously thinks of Homestead when it comes to his best tracks, but he can get the job done at Bristol as well. We certainly know that much, and he can get the job done in trucks and Xfinity from what we've seen from him the last couple of years as well. So, who knows? Maybe that would be something, wouldn't it? Though, if for the 3rd time it happens with a second different driver, all 3 times it happened at Bristol, if he can pull the triple sweep off, then must just be something about that place, right?
It's highly likely. You can go ahead and put me down for yes on weekend sweep for Larson at Bristol if they decide to put him in for all 3.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. I think Kyle Busch, there was an instance at Vegas a couple of years ago where he got the truck race and the Xfinity race, but didn't get the Cup race on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just trying to think off the top. I don't know who else would have run all 3 aside from those 2. There's plenty of Cup guys that step down to Xfinity and race Saturday and Sunday, but it's very rare that we see somebody do all 3. Or if they're doing a truck one-off, it's usually we saw it at Bristol Dirt. With a lot of drivers trying to get more laps there, or on a road course sometimes, if it's a companion weekend, like when trucks went to Dakota or Sonoma, for example, you'd see some guys step down there. Also some Xfinity guys, I think, just trying to get more laps on the road course kind of racing. But yeah, we'll be following that, and we'll wait and see if Kyle can take that second opportunity to put his name in the history books, along with Kyle Busch as the only 2 drivers to sweep all 3 races in one weekend. Let's move on now. Let's talk about the Xfinity race, the one race this weekend that Kyle Larson couldn't get the job done, but not for lack of trying. Had a very fast car, and again, looked like he was in position to just run away with it. I saw some people saying, it was getting boring with his 8, 10, 12-second lead or whatever, and I think fans have just been spoiled to expect what we saw on the final restart, that if the race doesn't go into overtime or end with a green flag finish, or them beating and banging coming out of turn 4 in a photo finish, or cars crashing out of turn 4 or whatever, and it's the most entertaining thing in the world, then it was a pretty boring, straightforward, unentertaining race. And I think that if all you're looking at is the gap between first and second, you're kind of missing the point here of the larger picture of this sport. But that's a discussion point for another day, I think. Let's talk about what happened here in the Xfinity race. We had a late caution come out. Sam Mayer kind of got Kyle Larson going a little bit. Larson said that he was getting pushed off the ground. He couldn't go because his rear tires were spinning. He had already gotten a subpar restart, and that ultimately shuffled him back to 4th place. And Mayer ultimately ended up 2nd. Austin Hill was up there in the mix as well. He finished in 3rd. But it was Justin Allgaier once again parking it in victory lane. Brandon, what was your reaction to the finish that we saw in the Xfinity race on Saturday?
Yeah, it all came down to the disbelief there from the on pit road for the 17 that there was going to be a yellow and we're going to have to take it into overtime. He had the thing taken care of, and then getting to the restart, you make one little mistake like that. You said it, getting lifted off the ground, not getting the good restart there on the front straight, and unfortunately that's all. You have to be perfect on these restarts to win these races with overtime rules, and so that's the way it ends up. And so, yeah, again that was my one takeaway, since I was a little more on the IndyCar side this weekend as far as focus. So, but my one big takeaway from this entire weekend was, and I put it on X too, Larson was one overtime finish away, or one overtime restart slip up away from this weekend sweep. And it's not something that, and I thought this might be more to your liking. That's not something that used to be there. That used to not be a hurdle that was in the way of of him completing a weekend sweep.
Yeah, obviously, everybody I think is happy for Justin Allgaier. A great start to his season and defending his championship from last year. This was the post-race interview, the comments that Larson made here, and I just had a pop-up ad cover the entire text. There we go. I don't know. I've lived through a number of times here, but obviously a bummer again to have another Homestead race play out that way. I can't go when my rear tires are off the ground. I know it looks like I choked another one away, but I did everything I thought I could. He being Sam Mayer, just lagged back and slammed the stuff out of me. I'll keep it G-rated here for this show, but everybody knows what word he actually said. And my rear wheels came off the ground. So bummer, but cool to have as big a lead as we had. Would have loved to get a win for everybody on this 17 car. They don't get to race all the time. So yeah, unfortunate for Larson, because I know, this was the reason why he was doing this. When you're in a position like he is, anything but a win is going to leave you feeling empty-handed coming up short. And for the 17 team as well, that's a part-time car, but they really only bring out as an all-star car for a handful of races a year. So it's not like they're racing for an owner's championship or anything and can take, solace in we had a good points day at least. So,
yeah.
It's unfortunate for them, but at the same time, I think, for Justin Allgaier, I can't remember the last time. Let me pull up his stats here. I think this is the first time that he's won 2 races within the first 6 of the season. So he's off to arguably the best start of his Xfinity Series career. And that's saying something with how long he's been in this series and how successful he's been. 4 top 5s as well. The earliest he's ever won twice in a season was 2021 when he won the 6th race at Atlanta and the 9th race at Darlington. So, he's off to a great start. We'll see if he can continue this positive momentum throughout the rest of the season. But, again, we talked last week on the show about, Matt Crafton being in the Hall of Fame conversation. I think Justin Allgaier, for how long he's been in the Xfinity Series, how much he's given to that platform. Again, we expect if he continues to stay where he's at, and at this point in his career, I don't really see him, moving up to Cup or stepping away anytime in the near future, that he would pass Kenny Wallace, become the all-time starts leader in this series. And if he ends up with a win total in the mid-30s and another championship, I think you have to consider him a future Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Let's move on now. One other race we have to recap here. Let's take you to the ARCA East race, the Pensacola 150 at Five Flag Speedway. You'll never guess who qualified on the front row. Cars number 18 and 28 once again. This time it was Max Reaves and Connor Mosack. Mosack only finished 4th, however. He had a little bit of a problem during the race, had to work his way back up through the field. But Reaves, in his series debut, his Cookout-sponsored number 18 Toyota, took the checkered flag first. And, Brandon, I hope you're ready to feel old. Max Reaves, first driver born in the 2010s to win a NASCAR or ARCA sanctioned race. Do you feel old yet, my friend?
I'm sorry, what? Yeah, a little bit. But born in the 2010s. Well, Max, you did it, you buddy. You did it on debut. So you're going to be another young phenom coming through the ranks. We welcome you, but man, born in the 2010s. That feels gray. I should
just
gray.
Yes, I should clarify. He is 15, so he's old enough to race this series. January 7th. 2010 is what I have here. So just barely, but in the 2010s still, nonetheless. But yeah, he is. He's got the backing from Cookout. Obviously, he's in a fantastic car with a fantastic team, and obviously we're going to wait to see this year. I think it's going to take some time for Williams-Sawalich to adapt to more competition at the Xfinity level. But and Ty Gibbs admittedly is kind of in a bit of a slump in the Cup Series right now. But that car certainly has a very good track record of the young prospects that have been in it, racing in this series. Sammy Smith now has a solid career going for him in the Xfinity Series as well. So we'll see what the future holds for Max Reaves here. But again, hard to start off your career any better, winning the pole at Five Flags and then going on to lead the most laps and win the race as well. Job well done for that young man, and we'll see how the rest of his ARCA East season goes here. But good to see them kick off their season. And like I said, and I know we're only at the 20-minute mark. I always say that, maybe we don't have as much to talk about tonight. It's probably going to be a shorter show. But with how much of a marathon weekend it's been for me with our abbreviated show here tonight, not having the graphics and everything that we usually have with Joe being on break. That's going to do it for us here tonight once we get through the usual one shining moments in closing here. But Brandon, I will give you the opportunity before we close out, as we always do. What was the one thing that stood out to you from this weekend in the world of motorsports?
I just want to shout out the NGT IndyCar Series having their first points race at Thermal Club in the Coachella Valley in California. They actually pulled off something that hasn't been done in quite a bit. This was the first caution-free race in IndyCar. The last time that happened was 72 races ago. That was the second race of the Harvest Grand Prix doubleheader, if you can recall, back during the COVID pandemic in October of 2020. So we talk about that Craftsman Truck Series streak that's going here with not having to deal with overtime, which we associate that series so often with that. Well, IndyCar, something that IndyCar fans, you might find them complaining about is all the positions gained and lost on restarts, which, is a normal organic part of racing. But just to see, just congratulations to the entire paddock as a whole, just to see an entire 65 lap event go caution free, and just seeing the natural progression of pit strategy, and seeing, if you didn't see the end of that race, I recommend you go back and watch Alex Palou go out there and be an absolute champion and tracking down the McLaren leaders. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that the track or the Fox broadcaster, whoever was
besides that
lost power.
Well,
cuts of a NASCAR broadcast, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's pretty unacceptable. But also being a private golf club, country club, for a lack of a better comparison, they're probably working on temporary infrastructure anyway. So that stuff does need to be checked, and it is unacceptable. But in the human sense, I get it. I mean, they're out in the middle of nowhere out there, essentially.
Yeah, and I think what I was going to say about the finish, I think, again, you look at the final results and you see, another Alex Palou win, but what he had to do to close in on Pato there and make that pass for the win, I think, at the very least, the fans have stuck around, at least got a nice finish there between those two drivers. So, yeah, we'll keep talking about Palou, I'm sure, on the weekend shows for sure. It's been a fantastic start to the year for him as well. He couldn't get much better. I just want to say credit to all the firefighters in the Homestead area this weekend. I know there were concerns about the brush fires and wildfires in the area. I think they got as close to 2 or 3 miles from the speedway, and the track was very adamant all weekend, or all week, I should say. The weekend's going to go on as scheduled. We're confident that we can get this under control. So to everybody that was involved in, helping to make sure that situation didn't get more out of hand than it was, and everybody that's also been impacted. I know LA obviously had, massive wildfires a couple of months ago, but they're still trying to build back from. So we're thinking about everybody out there in that community as well. And all the first responders, thank you for all the work that you do. And thank you to Homestead-Miami Speedway for, I think, another very solid weekend of racing. And like I said, I don't want to get too deep into the conversation here, but I think I have to side with Jeff Gluck and some of the people that were in his replies, and Jeff just quoting them and saying, am I going crazy? Are you guys watching the same race here? And I think some of the responses to those tweets that Jeff was sending was basically exactly what I was saying here at the start of the show. I think that, fans have kind of been spoiled and conditioned in the era of stage racing and overtime and playoff cut lines and points resets that, we're going to have a Game 7 moment be a regular thing here. And we kind of lost the ability to appreciate when somebody gets out to an 8 to 10 second lead. But that doesn't mean that the quality of racing you're seeing throughout the field is diminished any. It's just one driver happens to have the field in the palm of their hand that day, and they're putting a good old spanking on the other drivers on the racetrack. And sometimes you're going to get that. And if you're getting that because a driver's leading every lap because we're running the 550 package and they can't pass, that's one thing. And then we can address that and look at the context. If it's because they just have a better car or better setup, or dare I say better talent behind the wheel in the case of Kyle Larson, that they can run that high line, that there's only a couple of other drivers. Tyler Reddick comes to mind as well. But, there are plenty of drivers that would love to be able to do what Kyle Larson does at that track. And so for him to showcase his talent and get out to a double-digit second lead, I don't think diminishes the quality of the racing that we saw. And I, for one, will continue to bang that drum. I would love to see this track host the finale again as early as 2026. But we'll just have to wait and see if those conversations actually amount to anything or come to fruition. All right.
One more thing.
Sorry, go ahead, Brandon. Yeah, sure.
What was your? You may have already said it on another show, but what was your review on the all driver booth? What was your 1 out of 10? 10 being the best.
Now, I got to admit, I was watching a lot of basketball this weekend, so I didn't catch much of the race live. I've only seen.
I was practicing for Sebring, so ditto there.
I feel like I'm not going to comment on it because I need to watch the entire broadcast from start to finish. I obviously saw the important clips and the highlights and the finish, to get ready for tonight's show and just catch up on what happened. But I do not feel like it would be fair for me to give an entire assessment of how well each of those individuals did without actually seeing them from start to finish all the way. So I will refrain judgment until I get an opportunity to do that. I can tell you from past experience, I have not been a fan of the concepts. I think, I credit them for thinking outside the box a little bit and trying something a little bit different. At least they're not standing still and keeping the product stale. And I think there are certainly fans that enjoy it, and, I'm good for them. I'm happy for them. But I think that the booth still needs, at the very least, a traditional play-by-play broadcaster to take control. And credit to Kevin Harvick for trying. But I think there's a reason why the people with broadcast experience get that position in the booth, and the former drivers or crew chiefs or whoever get the analyst positions. But Kevin's doing, I think, the best job that he can. And again, I don't want to make a full judgment call having not watched the full broadcast. So
all right, we're in the same boat then.
I'll get back to you on that for sure. I'm sure Matthew Owens has his thoughts, but he's the oracle of our sports media coverage here.
He's also in the March Madness right now.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
He said, I don't know if you're going to need me anytime soon, but don't. Yeah. Something to that effect. Yeah, gotta like Matthew.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of a break here. I know there's the women's round of 32 is wrapping up today, but then we've got a couple of days off, and then the men's Sweet 16 starts a couple of days later on Thursday, I believe. So we'll stay tuned to that, and obviously all the coverage from Martinsville coming up next weekend, and everything else that we cover here on this show. That's going to do it for us here tonight, and thank you so much for sticking with us here. And if you like what you saw tonight, like I said at the start of the show, if you want to consider joining Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew, investing in us in Patreon, you can find the link to that in the description box below. Or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link or tip us on YouTube through Super Chat or Super Thanks. And as always, most important thing that you can do to help us out here at Grid Network is follow us on all our social media platforms, whether it's X/Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky, and then at Grid Network TV on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. We're on all of them. But most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That will go a long way in helping us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Now, looking ahead at our upcoming schedule, Kobe Lambeth will be back on Wednesday with Grid Tonight alongside Josh Birch and Matt White. Stay tuned for our new NASCAR pre-race format on Thursdays. That show's been off to a great start, so stay tuned for that once again this week as well. Hopefully, Women in Motorsports will be back on Friday also to recap the first round of the F1 Academy season, and then Grid Live wrap-up, I should say, to follow on Sunday as always, and then we'll be back here in 1 week's time to bring you another episode of the Encore show. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, I'll go to the paperclip. I usually talk about what's next when you ask me this question. So going to the paperclip this weekend, and the spring edition of Martinsville, always a fun time. And then the Saturday after that, wife and I will be celebrating her graduation, and we'll be out at Darlington for the next Saturday. So we'll be there for the Xfinity Series race. Won't stay for Cup, but I'll give you my thoughts there from the on-track perspective.
All right, we'll look forward to that. I just want to say, obviously it's been a long weekend for me being on 4 shows. It's been a while since I've done that. I want to thank you all, whether you're a new subscriber or you've been here even from before I've been here. I'm not going to lie. I've been fighting some demons here over the last few days, just with a lot going on in my life right now, emotionally. Man, My sister's getting married in a week and a half, and I'm thrilled for her. Looking forward to celebrating with everybody. But it's a challenging time for me as a big brother. Family's going through a change that's going to be hard for all of us to let her go.
Yeah.
But we're excited for it at the same time, and just to have that coming up, and then other parts of real life work getting in the way. It's been a lot the last couple of weeks, and I just want to tell you all, make sure you're taking care of yourselves and prioritizing your mental health, because I didn't do a very good job of that for the first 25 years of my life, and it's something that I've tried to do a little bit better of a job this year here as I approach the finish line on year 26 in a few months. And that's one thing that you can't get back is time. So make sure that you're taking care of yourselves out there. And again, doing what you have to do. This is another reason why the show's a little bit shorter tonight. Apologies if you were looking for something a little bit more in depth. But some weekends there's just not as much to talk about, and other times, you just need to prioritize your own time and take the moments that you need to make sure you're right and can come back strong for next week. So apologies for getting a little emotional here. I feel like my mind's going a million miles a minute, just trying to get to the finish line of this long weekend's worth of shows here. But thank you all so much for sticking with us. And Nick Kobe, thank you so much for this message here, sending love to you and your family. Thank you for everything. Man, that means a lot. So
yeah, we love you, Ben, and we're praying for your family. Okay, and we're excited for it too.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and Kobe knows this. He's I've had these conversations before, but I was just a guy, like that Bob Jenkins quote. Just a race fan that got lucky. Kobe reached out to me after I graduated college and gave me the opportunity to join this team in 2021, and it's been an amazing 5 years. Not quite 5 years. We're in year 5 right now, I should say. But love doing this show, love being a part of a Grid Network family, and we're going to keep killing it the rest of the year. And Brandon, I know you've got your new writing gig going now as well, and I know you're going to kill it over there the rest of the season also. So
thank you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next week. And we'll see you throughout the rest of this week as well. Stay tuned for the rest of our programming and the next Encore episode as well next week. Have a good one, everybody.